Yo, what's up guys? I'm with Bradley, and Bradley was actually on the YouTube channel about 1 year ago, and we did a super cool interview. It was like a 3-part interview series on Vipassana meditation. Bradley actually manages a Vipassana center. He's been living there for the past like 3 years or something?
Almost 3 years, yeah.
Almost 3 years. So he's back in Austin. We're back on the blog, and yeah, I just wanted to shoot another interview just to see what's been going on for the past year, living at the center, managing it. What have you learned diving into meditation even deeper? What's been going on?
Well, since we last spoke, I've dove in a lot deeper into meditation, and I took a couple long courses. So normally our introductory courses are 10 days long, and I took a 20-day and 30-day course since we last spoke. So I've come to some new realizations about my personal practice and what I think that this game is all about, that we're all playing.
Dang, dude, 30 days. So we just hit an hour-long meditation, and usually, so in my personal practice, I'm actually curious what you think about this, but I typically do multiple 10 or 15-minute meditations throughout the day, just to like refocus, to recenter, to let go, to like when I work on computers, like it like zaps my brain and really like almost affects my vision. And so I find meditation super beneficial for that. And we just hit an hour-long sit, which is way longer than I normally do. And so what's it like doing a 30-day meditation?
Yeah, that's a good question. It just becomes my job at that point. And I really learn and appreciate what it is to be a monk for 30 days and to be tended to, and that my job is to go inside and clean up as much of my mind as I possibly can. So that's where I'm at with that. But just to touch back on what you said, any amount of time I think is beneficial. Anytime we can reset and just come back into our body the best that we can, then we're on to something there.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically you've been doing these longer sits, like been doing the Vipassana meditation. Like what's it like when you're just working at the center? Like what's a typical day? Like how long do you usually meditate? Like what's been going on with that?
Yeah, I usually meditate 2 to 3 hours a day, and I've noticed with my practice that I'm just much more in my body all the time, more and more. So when I wake up, I'm meditating. When I'm walking, I'm meditating. There's internal systems that start to build momentum with meditation, and then those start to go on their own. They need less tending to. So just being more embodied has a benefit of when I'm experiencing things, I'm feeling what's happening inside, and I'm able to gauge if this is something that's serving me or isn't serving me on a very visceral level.
And by like the system's always working, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like basically you're always observing the breath, you're always observing like the sensations, like if anything happens, you're constantly kind of cluing into what you actually feel rather than what you think, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I'd say that what I'm feeling takes more and more precedent over what I'm thinking. I think there's a good balance to strike with using my rational mind, but what I'm feeling is more important in my day-to-day life.
What do you think? What do you think about thinking? Because I've had this conversation with David, who's with us also, and sometimes I wonder how valuable thinking is.
I have very similar meditations, and I think there's a use to it, but that the use it pales in comparison as to what our intuition and perhaps even a higher intelligence inside of ourselves has, because there's so many ways to look at things, and a logical, rational way has its limits, and I'm starting to see that.
Yeah, I mean, so do you still have, because like in my personal life, you know, obviously I'm in the world, so like I'm working, I'm going through things, I'm having different relationships and stuff going on. So I honestly, like I'll ups and downs. Like I'll have periods where I'm having the like waves of just unending thoughts that I feel like they're taking me in all different directions and not really helping out at all. And then you're at the center, you're in normal life, you're managing it, you're somewhat removed, but do you still have those periods of like unending like thought cycles going over and over again, repeating itself, not kind of gaining anything, or have you kind of shut that kind of stuff off?
No, it's not shut down, but they're kept in check much more. So of course I still have thoughts, of course I still have cycles that I go through within my own mind, but I give less and less stock to those things now because they're projecting me in the past or the future, and it's not really reality as it is with what I'm experiencing now. So they're not as strong at pulling my attention anymore. But if I'm taking a meditation course and going deeper and deeper inside, then some of those thought patterns are very strong. But outside of a course, they're not terribly strong.
Do you mean like they're strong in the sense that, so like when you do a Vipassana course, like I think that it automatically brings up, for those of you watching that have taken it, like it brings up like, I think stuff that you haven't processed or dealt with. So you've done like a ton of these. Like how many days have you spent in course? Or how many sessions? Or
probably like 12 or so, maybe like 10-day courses, a couple long courses.
So well over like 100 days. Yeah. And so do you find that you're still digging through like childhood stuff or like past experiences, and like do you feel like you're still digging through like unprocessed things?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of junk in there, and the deeper I go, the more attractive the traps become. So like real bursts of creativity and ideas that are so attractive that they're very alluring bait away from the real work, which is to purify and cleanse and cleanse.
What's your biggest, if you could share, like what are you working on, like, or what's like kind of the challenging at your face now?
Just how to integrate myself into the world. Being so isolated in a rural area, operating a meditation center, and what my livelihood looks like. How am I going to have one foot in my own personal introspective practice, but also have a foot in the world and be able to share that. So yeah, just figuring that out as I transition away from the center.
Yeah, I think that we've talked about this in the last video series, but I think like we're healthy guys, we're healthy young guys. If you have a healthy young girl, it's like I think that you automatically, if you're healthy, if you're young, you feel emotions, you feel hormones, you feel desire, you feel like basically ambition, I guess, biologically. And so what kind of role do you think that plays? Like I think it's different if it's like an old person nearing the end of their life. They might be able to dig, or they might have way less concern about this kind of stuff. But I think if you're like a young man or a young woman, it's like you feel things that you need to do in the world, and then you're also kind of stripping everything and doing meditation. And so like, do you think that plays like a role in you struggling, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that it's something I'm understanding more and more now, and just the idea of partnership that you said, and hormones, and I mean I haven't had a partner for over 4 years, and so I'm wondering about that because I feel very comfortable with that right now. But an idea that someone shared with me was if a person's able to integrate their masculine and feminine sides, that a desire for a partner starts to dissolve, but that at a very deep level, a desire for a partner is to seek that balance between our masculine and feminine. And so I'm open to that, having a partner, but I'm also opening to seeing what that looks like to integrate that within me, and seeing if I need a partner or not. I'm open to either way, Cal.
And have you had like sex
I haven't had sex in over 4 years as well.
Over 4 years.
Yeah, which is wildly different than before that. But yeah, it's what I needed. It's the strong medicine.
Okay, so do you also, this might be going way too deep, but I think it's important. Do you also abstain from like masturbation and like do you only have like wet dreams and stuff, or like?
Yeah, I do abstain from masturbation. Wet dreams do happen. I noticed in the beginning of this phase that I would have wet dreams, and they'd be vivid wet dreams. But after a while, it just became this bodily process. I would wake up with wet underwear and without any recollection of a dream at all.
Yeah.
So it was just this release, and then, no big deal. So, and then it's happening rarer and rarer. So, yeah, it's kind of just an experiment.
No,
but it's been very natural, Cal. I haven't had to like torture myself to not do it, to not do this. It's just been a natural next step.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've gone through periods where I think the longest I went was 3.5 months.
Yeah.
And it was the same kind of thing. It was just like I would wake up and just be like, oh, okay, and it wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
But
right. For 4 years, I know.
That's epic. Well, yeah. So what if most people watching this, they may have sat like one course or something, or a few courses. I think there's a huge range of people. Maybe a lot of people haven't meditated or spent any time doing it. I think most people I talk to, everyone's interested in meditation.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard about meditation. Everyone has heard the benefits. But I think a lot of people are like, what the heck? Like I sit down and I like can't stop thinking, like I'm not doing it right. Like
the lights don't come on. There's no fireworks.
Yeah. And so like what would you recommend? Just because obviously you've been through a lot of it, you've spent a lot of time in it. Some would consider you maybe like more advanced or like as far as meditation goes. So what would be like your recommendation for like a new person or someone watching this video?
Yeah. My recommendation is to look at the practices you do have. So we're all practicing communication with who we interact with. We're all practicing using our body because we're in it. And we're all practicing using our mind because we're thinking. So look at those practices that we all have and start intending with those practices and start cleaning. So cleaning your relationships up with honesty, clean your mind up, really pay attention to what you're inputting into your mind, and start cleaning your body up, okay? Whatever that means for you, wherever you are, this is an opening up process, and this opening up and cleaning up will allow someone to maintain deeper insights and live those insights out. But if our body and physical vessel can't hold those higher energetic patterns, then we're just going to play out more dense cycles, more dense patterns that might not be serving us. So clean your act up.
What do you mean about honesty?
I mean being honest with myself, being honest with yourself, and then being honest with the other, whoever you're speaking with. Honesty and vulnerability to me are two peas of the same pod. So take risks, be bold in your relationships, and you might shed relationships that aren't serving you, but you'll create space for newer relationships with new people that might serve you on your path better.
I recently had a conversation with a girl who I think a lot of people, I've come across this a lot, and she was saying like, how do you meet like-minded people? Because she doesn't want to like drink anymore, and all her friends drink.
Yeah.
She's like, how do you meet like-minded people? And I'm like, honesty, like authenticity, like be. I think that when you're fully yourself, like everyone that's like you is revealed to you, basically.
Yeah. When you're like yourself, everyone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it goes a long way, and it's painful, that process, because we start to realize how much we've lied to ourselves and those around us that we love. And when we start changing that pattern and being more vulnerable with ourselves and those around us, then our true colors come out, and we allow more movement and growth in all aspects of our life. But it's such a paramount thing to start, that anyone can start right away, is just being honest. And it's hard because you might not be even able to articulate what you're feeling, but you could still be honest with, I don't know what's going on with me right now, but something is, and I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not comfortable with this, or I want to do this or that. Test yourself, go into the fire, and come out the other side.
Yeah, and then one question actually personally that I have is like, so I have this idea, and this might sound like pretentious, or this might sound like, I don't know what you think of this, but I have this idea that like meditation is a skill. And like what I mean by that is like, I think a lot of people might disagree or be like, what the heck? But what I mean is like, when I first started meditating, if I had 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I could like lower my heart rate, or I could get some amount of work done. And then after doing like a Vipassana course, after putting in more time, now what I found is like in that 10 or 15 minute experience, like I can accomplish vastly more. And so I think that I've had this thought, and I've thought that maybe a lot of people would disagree or be like, no way, but I think it's kind of a weird thing to say, like meditation, because you're just meditating. But I think your effectiveness as a meditator goes up, obviously, the more time that you're meditating. What do you think about that?
I think that's absolutely correct. Yeah, it is a skill, just like anything else. And we get better at what we do, and we get worse at what we don't do. So you get better if you have patterns that you know aren't serving you or serving me, then, and I keep doing those, then I get better at that. I get better at justifying those patterns. I get better at convincing myself of those patterns. But if I'm taking time to work on patterns that are better for me and serving me and those around me, then I get better at those. So yeah, it's where our mind goes, where our attention is, we'll get better at that. And meditation is just another skill, just another practice of many.
And so what's next for you? Like, you know, you've been living at the center for 3 years, managing it. I assume like we talked about this, I think you're gathering probably like huge like work experience, like even in a commercial world, like if you wanted to take it that way. And you said you thought about this a bit, so like what are you thinking? Like what do you feel is next for you? What would you like to do, and what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, good question. I have a lot of thoughts about that. In the immediate future, I'll probably sit another long course, and then I think I'll isolate myself for a couple of months and just integrate my experience for a while. And I'm very curious what it's like to strip away everything that's comfortable, and find out how I act when no one's looking, when really no one's there. And so, yeah, I plan on spending a couple months in a remote part of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and integrating and hopefully having a better idea of what I want to do in the world moving forward, which could be school, which could be a community living. Yeah, I'm not really sure, Cal.
What kind of role do you think meditation would take in that, in like a daily life? Like how much time?
In that isolation period?
No. Like you like working and living somewhere.
I think it'd be similar. I think what I'm doing is practicing that right now, working a full-time job and also meditating 2 to 3 hours a day, and spending time on my body, spending time on my friends and family. So yeah, I think it looks pretty similar in that way.
Sweet, well that's a wrap. And I just want to finish this off, if you want to just say a little bit to the people watching this video, if you have like any advice, any parting words that you want to share or pass on.
Sure, well I imagine most of the people who are watching this video have some inclination to grow and improve themselves as an individual, which in turn will improve those around them. So stay confident, stay strong. It's not an easy journey, but there are a lot of resources around you. And what I'll say is practically set your bar lower than you might think. And that sounds counterintuitive, but if you set your bar a little lower, then you can do that easier, and you can get that victory and then build momentum on that. Because this whole game of opening up and cleaning is a game of momentum. And the more momentum you're able to get, the more that starts to work for you. Think of it like an engine that you're trying to start and you're cleaning it and it's not starting. Eventually though, it'll turn over and that'll start working for you, okay? So keep at it. You've got it. You're a human in a wonderful time right now, and I've got all the faith in the world in you. Thanks for listening.